Bong, a local man has woken up. I'm sorry to bring you such breaking news, but
I like local men waking up. Local men going, hang on a second, is this how it should be?
Local man notices too hard. Effectively is what has sort of happened, except this local man really should have noticed earlier that things might have been changing.
One of my favorite memes is the adventures of the man who just started paying attention.
Yeah.
That's definitely one of my favorite memes. Like, maybe there shouldn't be, Hamas flags flying in central London.
Well, that's where we are today. And we'll begin this with this little clip here from Urban Scoop, a small media outlet who deserves all your support. And they decided to put out this video, which is the Met Police turning up in the dead of night to arrest some guy in front of his wife. Okay, whatever. I mean, it's, horrible circumstances, don't get me wrong, but the interesting thing, of course, in legal cases is what's the crime?
Sure, if he committed some sort of hideous crime, okay, it sucks that, you've got to arrest the guy in front of his wife who has stage 4 cancer.
His crime was the disapproval of Palestinian flags. Yeah. We're not joking either by the video evidence. So I suppose we'll listen to a part of this. At 6 minutes, we won't listen to all of it. I just want to hear what the police officers have to say.
What are the charges, officer?
Eating a meal? Succulent Chinese? Well, let's watch Democracy Manifest.
No! And to protect a vulnerable person, by means of bill to impose that you do not attend any events involved with Palestine, okay? The reasons why we did this is on the 17th of the 10th of 2023, on Bethel Green Road at 10:04, you were witnesses saying, obviously, people, while they're over here, etc., we let them into our country, etc.
So, big deal.
Yeah, okay.
So, big deal.
With the wife.
Say that. Take him. Disgusting. He's a disgusting. Absolute. I'm a stage 4 cancer patient and
Hi folks, we've rolled out a new feature on the website, which is the ability to pay for an individual piece of content. So usually it's £5 a month every month to subscribe to all of the content on the website. But I appreciate there are going to be people who simply don't want to do that. They would be interested instead in purchasing a single piece of content for a lower amount, and they've got a particular niche that they're interested in watching. And so they don't want every single piece of content. They just want this one thing. So we've introduced this function where you can just simply purchase the one thing for £1.89, which I think is about $2.30 at the current exchange rates. And then that's just yours forever. So there's no sort of commitment there. There's no rolling subscription. It's just that one thing. So that's an option now that's on the website. It's completely live. It's completely available. And please go and enjoy it. And we'll see you all very soon.
It quickly devolves into shouting, of course.
I can't help but notice that, and a little bit, I've watched this already, I can't help but feel that these two police officers dance at Pride events.
Probably do.
They really look like the types, right?
We should really kind of subtitle a bit of that, if for not other reason than most people probably can't understand the accents outside the UK, which is...
Nothing wrong with Scottish accents. Foreigners got learned.
It's very funny. Anyway, so the officer...
Scottish accents.
This officer here, he says that on a certain day, the man he's arresting said, "Why are those people here? We let them into our country."
Yep.
The Scottish man says, "Yes, so what?" So then he handcuffs him. And of course, the wife is like, "So what? Are you serious?"
Yeah.
And yeah, that's literally what happened.
Perfectly reasonable question. True statement. Arrested.
And this, I had to cover this because it's so beautifully led in to what I did yesterday with the fact that the way policing works in this country, specifically so perfectly crystallized in recent events, is that the police and all of Western society operate on a principle of fear of the most diverse elements. That is entirely what animates them at this point in their job. And this man, of course, being part of the white British, he's held to a standard which isn't even the law, which is that you can't criticize flags.
Oh, do you not remember in Scotland when someone wrote "Islam is questionable" on the wall and they got arrested for it?
They did. And this is the point. I mean, at the same time, just to remind ourselves, this is what such people in various parts of the West are doing. This is in France, where a bunch of houses where Jews live have now had Jewish...
Oh, I know that Jews live there. Ask me how I know.
Well, the local Muslims have visited. That's why. But the video in question as well has been released. I don't know how Visegrad got hold of it. I guess the family released it. And this is the video in which they're charging him. Yeah. And I'll play the audio, I suppose.
Yeah, you see it? And then over here at this one, we've got this crap going on as well. Yeah. And then we come along to this pole here, and they've then done the same crap here as well. Look at that. see this? This is what we're dealing with. This is not fucking on. And then up in this one here, you see that? Yeah. Same shit here.
And he continues with various Scottish noises as he films the
Looks like
flags.
Looks like a lovely area of London, doesn't it?
Yeah, do you want... I do love the ONS. Do you guys want the number?
The number of what?
23%. That's the number.
Yeah, of course that's the number.
I don't have to say anymore, do I?
Yeah, no, well...
I quite like this game.
It's self-evident, actually, to be honest. But you look at it, it looks like an absolute hovel.
Yeah, so of those 23% who remain, they are now held to a standard which is you cannot even criticize Palestinian flags, the flags of a foreign country.
But notice how none of them... No, the police didn't, like, crack down and arrest them when they were dancing on the cenotaph and stuff like that. Because the police act as if they're not the lawful authority over the immigrants.
No.
They act as if they're only the lawful authority over the white British.
They're the only ones who deserve the rod. Everyone else, literally do as you please because we're scared of you. Yeah. And
I was just going to say, I've written more than one article really on the theme of sort of the destruction of Western society and what Musk was talking about earlier, of civilization, at least Western civilization as we know it. Well, this is it actually playing out. This is what it looks like.
Yeah.
Is that there's no law essentially, because if the law isn't applied equally, there's in a sense no law. They're just making up one set of rules and not enforcing another set. So what does the rule of law mean anymore?
Well, it's specifically repressive tolerance.
It's sort of meaningless, isn't it? What is on the statute?
Well, yeah, absolutely. But it's particularly, it is repressive tolerance. It is, we will tolerate it from one group, we will not tolerate it from another group. And that's how the blade cuts when it comes to this.
This child,
yeah,
in the costume of a policeman.
Yeah.
Sorry, but that is just a commissar.
Is it?
Yeah.
Really?
It's a commissar. The police of diversity and inclusion.
Just to remind ourselves as well, that man shouting there that we let them all in, so this is what happens to us. That's his crime. Sorry for saying that. Just to remind ourselves real quickly, because at the same time that this was taking place, this news was released, which is Rochdale grooming, predatory gang jailed for child abuse. And another one. This, as you can see, 16 hours ago.
I mean, I'm just glad they were jailed, I guess.
Yeah. We have some names, so you can not find a pattern. So I suppose I'll read those. Ali Raza Hussein Kasami, Insa Hussein, Jan Sahid Ghani, Martin Rhodes.
Yeah, that's an interesting name.
And Mohammed Ghani.
Yeah.
There we are. I thought just remind ourselves, because I don't like that this has now become parcel of living in.
Just a quick thing, that Martin Rhodes looks like a real winner, doesn't he?
Yeah. Piece of Anyway. Someone, I think Rorega nationalist, in fact, decided to tweet out that he would make today National Grooming Gang Day of Remembrance.
Oh, I didn't know.
I thought was interesting. And he details the case here of Charlene Downs, the young girl that went missing. Two kebab shop owners were joking about the idea that they turned her into kebab meat. That was on video. The police had that. They weren't able to charge the men with anything. So they're still offering $100,000 for anyone who can find who killed her. And that's probably one of the most horrific circumstances. But that's a bit of hearsay, I suppose, because no one was officially convicted for that one. So I thought we'd just go back to Rochdale real quick.
Where a bunch of people were convicted.
Yeah, I forget how bad it is, frankly, in this country. Really because that was 16 hours ago. Another 5 men go away, in which we can see no pattern. I just want to read you the details of the people who have been convicted and sent to prison, so we're not even dealing with suspects here.
They're probably already out. Aren't these the guys who were bumping into their victims in Asda?
Maybe. I forget which one, because there's so many. Yeah. But just to remind you, Rochdale is a 70% white British area, so you would probably expect 70% of the people arrested for this to be white British. Well, we'll start the story in 2012, in which 12 were charged, 9 convicted, 8 of them Pakistani, 1 an Afghan asylum seeker. One of the people who weren't convicted, the reason was because he fled to Pakistan to avoid justice.
Really? The Pakistanis didn't extradite him back to face justice?
No, they weren't concerned with child rape. 2013, 5 men were also in prison for this. They were from the Congo, Kurdistan, and Pakistani.
Amazing.
Yep. 2015, we stopped recording the ethnicities, apparently. So...
Got to do it for the sake of diversity. I don't mean to laugh, because it's just like, what are you going to do? If you don't laugh, you're going to cry, right?
But this is the police force. I mean, this example we've just gone through, it's such a crystallization of a long-standing pattern of oppression against the white British. And we can see it because I'm going to mention the names now, because I can't mention their ethnicities because we don't have it. We just have the names. So I'll let you make your own judgments as to where people are from. We have Afaris Aham, Chowdhury Ikhal Hussein, Rihan Ali, Kutab Iham, Mohammed Dahoud, Mihid Khan, and Mohammed Zaid, and Mustafa Rahman, and David Law.
Right.
There we are.
There's an interesting pattern of like there being like one white British person who's obviously some sort of absolute reject.
Yeah.
Who gets dragged into these gangs. Or is, somehow part of the nucleus of it. Or I don't know. But like it's some weird outsider who ends up joining this gang.
Chowdhury Hussein, that I mentioned, he also fled justice. Can you have a guess what country he might have fled to?
Pakistan?
Yes. There we are. 2015, it continues. Bihal Ahmed, Dilin Rasul, and Hassan Ali. 2016, there was another. Just to tell you, this is the Wikipedia list I'm reading from of just the various operations in a single town.
Yep.
So 2016.
Rochdale isn't exactly a big town either.
No. Shahaba, Ihran Wani, Gul Zaman, and Mohammed Ishkik. The next year, 2017, people again convicted, not even suspects. Joshim Miha, Iqtad Yusuf, Mohammed Sada, Mohammed Mir, and Ashkif Yusuf. And then just before that news broke, 16 hours ago, of the people being sent down, in August 2023, Mohammed Ghani, Israel Hussein, Jan Shahid Ghani, Martin Rhodes, Ali Hassan, and Hussein Kashami. So of the 43 people convicted, 2 of them were white British. So despite making up 70% of the population, they're only 4% of the pedos in the specific town in this investigations from the police. I mean, I'm sorry, but it is sort of ridiculous when there are so many long-standing community issues, and yet the man who turns up and says he's a bit miffed at the flags, he's the one that goes to prison. He's the one getting arrested. Why? Because, as you say, repressive tolerance.
Yep.
And there's no more perfect example of that, I think, than what the Labour Party had to say today. They had some news.
Go on.
It's Islamophobia Awareness Month, it turns out.
I'm doing everything I can, kid.
Just look at what Mr. Potato Head. His eyes of like his apologetic, like, oh, please don't accuse us of being bigots.
Yeah, exactly.
Expression. Oh,
and not just that. Please, Muslim community, come back and vote for the Labour Party again, because we covered the other day that like 95% of them, when surveyed, were like, "Yeah, I'm not voting for Labour anymore because they support Israel." It's like, oh, really? That's interesting.
The thing is, not only is this messaging and Keir Starmer and the Labour Party just so far off the mark, but what you've highlighted there, and that we all know, and that most of our audience know, is that cannot go on forever.
But it still is.
There must be a reckoning at some point, or a realignment. It cannot go on forever.
But that issue, let's say, the mass rape of young girls, that's not the important thing that Keir's getting at, of course. Keir's entire reason for putting this out.
It's literally the Norm Macdonald meme.
Yeah.
It's like, but imagine the Muslim communities, the bigotry they'll face. It's like
people were to, be told what's happening. Anyway, so
I mean, look, Keir Starmer is literally signaling to a foreign outgroup that, yeah, I know. Look, I know. Islamophobia is the really real problem here. He's not. He doesn't do like a grooming gang awareness month where he sits there in his tie and his stupid spectacles and goes, "Well, I'm really concerned about the grooming gangs that have been predating on vulnerable English girls up and down the country." He doesn't do that. He, in fact, I probably can't say any more on that, but you know what I mean.
But the whole reason I bring up,
whose side is he on in that question?
Yeah.
And he's like, "Yeah, Islamophobia bad." It's like, right.
The whole reason I bring up that stuff is obviously he's not directly responding to that news because that's not of interest to his party. Instead,
well, they're the ones who covered it up. So
yeah, but even as a side point, as I mentioned, the reason he's even done this post here is because foreign conflict in foreign place now affects London, and that's where the real concern of everyone is. And this is a local friend of ours who happens to be in London, and he says here, it's becoming ever clearer that the Met do not plan on enforcing the law. I would suggest people to take precautions, protecting their family and friends accordingly, especially if Jewish. Make no mistake, it's coming everyone's way. This being the fact that police don't enforce the law. And he's naturally responding to another event, which was this. This is Liverpool Street Station, one of the, there's about 4 major railways in London, if you're going east, south, north, or west, and Liverpool being one of them. And as you can see, there's just thousands of people decided to occupy one of the major train stations and scream "Free Palestine" and to the river from the river to the sea for all evening. Great. And if you complain about that, as that chap did earlier, you're the problem.
That hits particularly close to home for me because I grew up in Essex and worked in London for the best part of 20 years and would go through Liverpool Street Station twice a day, every weekday for, let's say, years and years on end. So I know that particular station, every inch of it.
I can't even know
for my sins. And that is just, it's so bizarre and sickening in a bizarre way, of course.
Utterly occupied.
Yeah. Right.
But I can't help but notice that a lot of these people appear to be white British, or at least European in some way, right?
Largely Europeans by the looks of it.
Yeah.
Just the demographics of London. Obviously being
I mean, there are some headscarves around and whatnot, but like...
But you'll know, I imagine, because a lot of Jews pointed out that there is a monument to the I think the Kindertransport, or whatever that, I forget how the word in German is used. But it's a monument to those Jews who were evacuated just outside of the station.
Yeah, well, it's just out of shot to the right there. Yeah, as you go down into the underground. Yeah, there's a thing about remember.
But then there's one more, which is the one I think you're referring to, because there's one outside which is about the Jews, and there's one inside which is about the British. Those kids.
Oh yeah,
who had to be transported
during the Blitz.
Remember when there was history in London?
Did they
that didn't have to do with some foreign ethnic group? Yeah, there's a little monument to the children of London who were English who had to be exported whilst the Blitz took place. Yeah. And how irrelevant is that event and those people to what now occupies this land?
I would love to. I wish we had a Vox pop there. So have you ever heard of the Blitz? I bet they'd be like, what?
Yeah. No. It's unbelievable.
It's not our civilization, though. That's what we're witnessing.
And what we can see is, as the friend earlier was mentioning, is the police don't enforce the law. You can see the police there. They attended this. They protected it.
Yeah. It looks like a lot of students there, doesn't it?
To keep in mind as well, maybe for an American audience or something, but being one of the major train stations, this is a period in which pretty much everyone in that area or around is having to travel through to go home. The tube is all connected to it as well. So any Jewish person passing through has to witness this, not to mention literally every other human being who has to be like, why is the major train station this now? What's this got to do with anything?
If you head west out of London, you have to go through Paddington. Yeah, and if you're heading anywhere east, essentially, you go through Liverpool Street Station. So it's a real sort of hub.
Sure. Honestly, these look like a lot of students to me. It's like students sitting.
I'm going to play some of it so you can hear it.
Yeah, student trying.
Imagine trying to go home and that's what you got to listen to. How quickly would you lose heart or think I've got to get out?
The Germans would start bombing us again.
They would do less damage.
Yeah.
There is a streak, again, like Elon was talking about in the last segment we did. There's a streak in some people, or it's deep in humanity in some ways, of sort of self-loathing and self-destruction, self-abnegation, all that sort of thing, all those sorts of things. Well, as you see it there, they're not sort of...
The cult of destruction has to continually destroy.
Not many of those people are from Palestine, it looks like, are
they?
Zero. Western students. And
exactly. I mean, it's us now, but then when we're gone and someone else is like, okay, well, we're going to try and order the world in the way we think it should be ordered, these same people are like, no, you have to be destroyed too. And whoever it is, it's just continual destruction.
I just love how the state stands with this. This is the purpose of it now, as you can see in the form of the police there. Wow. Well, I didn't think it could come that fast visually, but it did. And this is where...
just say, hopefully the Home Office and Suella Braverman might
do nothing.
Get them back in. Well, oh, no, right. This is what they want, essentially. Must be.
This is why I labelled this segment what it is, which is a local man has woken up. One singular MP is the only friggin' one I could find, saw this footage, and decided to tweet out, just dreadful. Thought this sort of thing would never happen in the UK.
But if you look at the quote tweets on this, you'll see me going, you invited it, because there we go.
You welcomed them, Brandon.
Our plans to secure our borders while welcoming skilled migrants. Oh, thanks, Brandon.
What skilled migrants? We have the graphs, if nothing else. But I love the entire comments are full of it. Yeah. There's people just being like, are you serious?
People like me. This is Callum.
There's also my graph there, but more people need to see the damage they've done. I mean, what is this? Since 2010. That's all them. Yeah. That's entirely him. In fact, he has been in his seat for 13 years. He's been a minister for much of that.
So he's one of Cameron's MPs. Right? He's one of Cameron's Blairites.
He is probably one of the people you could accurately define as had the most time to try and stop this and has done nothing.
Yeah.
And as you can see, some people just being like, bring in the army. it's time for that.
What army?
Apparently. I can see,
we even have an army.
Former MEPs there. And it just keeps going with people being like, yeah, you did this.
Yeah.
You're the ones responsible. And that is some good news. I am glad and proud to see every single one of you and everyone who has woken up to the fact that the Tories did this, and every friggin' speech or utterance out of their mouth in regards to, I think things are going a bit wrong, has to be returned with 13 years. You've had 13 years and you've done nothing. And just the absolute embarrassment of this guy sitting here and being like, oh, I've just woken up. Something might be going wrong. Sorry, son. You had your time and you failed utterly.
Yeah. I mean, you had such a huge majority. You could have done anything. You did nothing. In fact, worse than nothing. You allowed more people in.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Yeah.
It's worse than
It's
nothing.
not nothing. They've actively done this.
Yeah.
And it's not just that one chap who wants the army brought in. Quite a lot of people are talking about having us live in effectively France, which means having the army patrolling the streets everywhere.
I don't want that, though. That's like aesthetically, that's the wrong way for our civilization to be run.
Well, that's how you would run a British colony, isn't it? You'd have a squadron of boys patrolling the area. And that's what people are now saying is necessary for London.
I don't know if our colonies did have squadrons of boys patrolling.
I think
you would in Palestine.
I think it's
maybe in Palestine.
In my opinion, it's a bit beyond what you would like aesthetically.
Well, just what I think.
So I agree with you, I suppose, but
the essence.
Can we have the rule of law, though?
Sure, but the essence of English civilization is definitely opposed to having marching boots on the street.
Yeah, like I say,
but we're not living in that civilization.
Living in English civilization, are we?
We're far beyond that.
I don't have time for some of the other stuff about it, so I'll end it on this last thing, which we'll have to get back to at some point. Dominic Cummings was called in for some inquiry about COVID. A whole lot of conversation. But one of the things he mentioned in here is that not only do we not have any ability to control our borders, is what he discovered when the debate was had about trying to stop the virus coming in, there's not even a desire to have it.
Oh, because the Conservatives were the ones saying closing the borders is racist.
Yes. And not just them, but every part of officialdom.
Oh, good.
So,
good.
There you are.
That's right. We don't allow literally every foreigner under the sun to come here. We are morally deficient. Right.
You're insane.
Yeah. Really, really sane and rational people, sensible people are running this country.
If you appreciated that episode from the podcast of the Lotus Eaters, you can go to lotuseaters.com to get access to all the premium content that's on the site, such as the premium videos, this one on the politics of Barbie. If you'd like to find out what else is being put out, you can follow on Twitter at lotuseaters_com on Twitter. Thank you and goodbye.